ghosts real? Several recent encounters suggest there might be more things in heaven and earth than we can dream of.
So are werewolves just a Hollywood creation, or do half-man, half-wolf creatures really exist? Now, tonight, we kick off our Conspiracy Theory Month series, which was a...
The legend of the vampire actually goes back for centuries, and it exists in some form or another in almost every culture. In fact, some people believe the first vampire story was in the Bible.
Well, for decades, only crackpots and crazy people believed in UFOs. That's what I thought anyway. And then in recent years, it turns out that governments have been taking them seriously all along.
Try and clear up an ancient mystery with the help of a prominent veterinarian who says she can prove that Bigfoot exists and that he's related to all of us.
New reports, 5 pilots coming forward over the weekend saying they've had multiple mid-air encounters with high-flying, fast-moving objects.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for tuning in to Season 3, Episode 4 of Celestial Oddities, the PONG, Pair of Normal Guys podcast, brought to you by Brutal Business and Celestial Oddities Radio, bringing you 100% real and raw underground entertainment. As always, I will be your host. My name is Frater Crow. Daniel.
And I am your co-host, Daniel James.
I thought I might have lost you there. It'd be a repeat of some of the past episodes. So we thank you so much for listening out there, folks. Make sure you click the like, share, and follow button on whatever platform you're tuning in from, whether it be iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Deezer, Spreaker, CastBox, Google Play, or Amazon Podcast, or hell, even any of the ones in between that I might have missed. We air across everywhere, so listen where you feel comfortable. But by clicking those buttons, it moves us up the podcast community rankings, allows more people to discover the show, keeps you in the loop with new episodes as they air, and gives you unfiltered access to our past archives, not only of this show here, Celestial Oddities, the PONG, which is based around paranormal and supernatural phenomena, deep diving into content matter and giving our ideas and theories on them, to bringing on professionals on the show and interviewing them, or our special episodes where we take phone calls from people like you around the world to hear your strange and unusual encounters with the unexplained. We give you something for everyone out there that loves the paranormal. We also have Knights of the Nephilim, which is based upon esoteric science, occult doctrine, and ritual magic, interviewing and talking with the biggest and best names in occultism, from ritual practitioners and tool makers to theologians and everything in between. And our last show, Uncovering the Underground, where we talk with and interview artists from music to modeling, stars of the big screen, comedy, oddities, and everything in between. Brutal Business and Celestial Oddities aims to please by giving you the best raw underground entertainment that we can. So make sure you click those buttons and share it around. We truly appreciate it. If you didn't check out our last episode 2 weeks ago, Daniel and I took on phone calls from all around the world, hearing extraordinary stories. We had a little bit of technical difficulties and some strange and unusual problems that happened not only on this show, but some of my other episodes of Knights of the Nephilim recently, which is partially part of what we'll talk about this evening. But if you didn't catch our last episode, make sure you go back and listen to it. We had phone calls of premonitions of family members that were unfortunately murdered before they were. And, you know, sightings of UFOs and alien visitation and abduction. There was just a lot of really great, fascinating stories. And Daniel, I think you'll agree with me. It's always a great time to take those phone calls. I love those episodes.
Yeah, you know, the call-in episodes are probably my favorite thing that we do because I love connecting with people and hearing all of their stories from maybe all over the country, sometimes all over the world. Yeah,
and it's always different things. I mean, you might have something very similar. You might have two back-to-back abduction stories, but they're in themselves very unique, and I like to hear someone's own take on their experience, what they've experienced, where they're from, because you might have one call from Texas and the next call be from, you know, Papua New Guinea. You know, you can have very different vast areas of very similar experiences from across the planet, and I always enjoy to hear what it is that you guys out there, you guys and gals, have had happen, because most of us have had something strange and unusual happen in our life, whether we classify it as paranormal or we try to shrug it off. Something has, usually happened to us. So, if you're listening out there and you have had an experience, keep checking in on our platforms to watch and see when we're having our next call-in episode. We have 2 more this season that we will be bringing on other phone calls, and we would love to hear from you. Now, with that being said, this evening, our marketing director and creative director, Natasha, will be with us. And she has been doing a lot of the promotion and marketing this season. And, if you continue to watch, the different platforms that she's marketing on, which we'll talk about in a little bit, that'll be your best way to be in tune with what's going on with our shows. Unfortunately, I have been removed from the internet, from a lot of different platforms, and I haven't been able to promote and market as I once was. And Natasha was very nice in stepping forward and being able to take over that position and probably do it a lot better than I did. She's a little bit more artistic in the sense of making, reels and clips and different things that'll catch people's attention, where mine were just wordy posts. So, thank you to her. But tonight's episode, and Daniel and I have a lot to speak about on this topic, is censorship and silencing of truth speakers. And this has been a big issue for us. So I'll shut up for a minute and let Dan kind of jump in here and tell you a little bit about what we're speaking of and let him kick it off.
Yeah, so listen, this episode was inspired by some personal encounters that we're all having as a group, collectively as a team. We're just three people who want to, provide content and entertainment for people. And over the years, I'm somebody in particular, because of my alternative views and the way that I perceive reality about, world events, things on the news, or the mass consensus. I'm somebody that just has an alternative perspective on those things. So on platforms like Instagram, Facebook, sometimes even Reddit, Twitter, the concept of censorship and the silencing of freedom of speech has been a really big thing, I'd say, the last 3 years specifically. I mean, maybe forever, but 3 years in particular. And what I'd like to talk about tonight is some of my personal experiences running into that I don't want to call it a problem or an issue, but a thing that, we're dealing with. And I hope that, Frater and Natasha will share their experiences that they're going through as well. That sort of, inspired and promoted the cause for this episode, which was my idea. I really wanted an opportunity. I wanted this platform to maybe the last time I ever voiced my opinion on things in a public way for, as much time as we have left to do so. This episode is about the concept of censorship, particularly internet censorship and freedom of speech.
Absolutely. And I'll kind of tell you guys out there where, I don't want to say where it started, because obviously, as Dan said, that, censorship has been going on forever, but the last couple years, and especially the last couple months, has been very pivotal in trying to silence people like myself, like Daniel, and anyone, that is speaking seeds of knowledge out there. And where it started for me was randomly one night I was on Facebook, and you guys might have heard me talk a little bit about this on some of my other episodes on Knights of the Nephilim, and even a little bit with Dan on a past episode. But we really felt that it deserved its own episode itself to talk about, as Daniel said before, we might be silenced altogether and our shows be shut down, which is disheartening to think about, but it very well could happen. One night I'm on Facebook, I jump off for a little bit to take care of some things around the house. A half an hour later, I go to get back on, and I have a message saying you have broke the rules and conduct of Facebook and therefore have been removed permanently from our site or server. I don't know the exact verbatim wording. And the basis of it was that there was no warning. There was no indication of what it is that I had done to deserve a ban. But it wasn't like your normal 30-day ban or 15-day ban that you'll see people get because they posted an offensive meme or they did something, out of box where they were punished for it. No, I didn't post anything crazy. I didn't do anything crazy. All of a sudden, boom, your page is flagged and has been removed. Now, folks, I want you to understand, I've had Facebook since the beginning. I wouldn't say the beginning when it was only going around colleges, the very, very beginning, but I had it very, very early on, one of the first few, several thousand people, you want to call it. And I had about 15 years worth of history in there, pictures, videos, thoughts, music, projects, photography, all of these things just poof, gone in an instant, which, that's fine. It's their platform. They can do what they would like with it. But I wasn't given a reason as to why. And I found that very peculiar. And it did say you can attest it, but a lot of times you're not going to win the attestment. So I clicked attest, and the very first thing it says is we need your cell phone number. And in small print, by giving us your cell phone number, you were giving us access to your applications, your contacts, your emails, all of this shit that they don't need, access to. And I didn't think that really made sense. I'm like, wait a second, you're flagging me because I broke the rules of conduct, but then you're needing my phone number because you says you want to verify me. But I never had my phone number on my Facebook, so how would that prove that that's me? So, I hated to do it, but I gave my number and clicked continue. The next thing that popped up is we need a clear selfie that visibly shows your face in a good light, followed by a selfie video of your entire face and head from different angles.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, and right then and there, I'm like, wait a second, what? I'm like, I've never even heard of some shit like that. Like, okay, you want a picture of me. I think that's bizarre enough, but then you want a selfie video of me from different angles. I'm like, that's more like you're trying to capture the structure of my face for facial reconstruction purposes, which can be happen anyway. All the filters on TikTok and all these other programs out there, that's exactly what they're doing, and they have been doing. But this was just a little bit beyond anything that I felt that they would ever need. It still didn't fit the purpose of how is that identifying me, because who's to say what I look like? I know a lot of people who have Facebook that never have taken a picture of themselves, and they have no picture up. So that wouldn't prove anything. So then I started looking into it on Google, and I found all these other people attesting to the fact that this happened to them out of nowhere, and that they were asked to give their number, a picture, a Facebook or a live selfie video, and then the last thing was a clear picture of your driver's license. And I'm like, wow. So they're wanting to see what you look like, all the aspects of you, have access to everything in your mobile device, and then have your height, your weight, your home address, the color of your eyes, whether you're an organ donor or not. All these pieces of information that is certainly not needed. And I never went past the telephone number. I said, fuck this. I exited out. And sure enough, my Facebook was permanently removed, and it's gone. Lost all those years of friendships on there, people that I'll never be able to get in contact with again because I don't have their personal info. Some of them have not their full name, so you might know their real name, but they have their first and middle name. You're never going to find them again. So just poof, friendship's gone, memories of family and friends that have passed that are gone, that I don't have those pictures anywhere else. But once again, like I said, it's their platform, so be it. To make a long story short, next thing I know, I get hit on Instagram that I broke the rules of conduct on Instagram, and they're trying to take down my Instagram page. Then I get hit on my Knights of the Nephilim radio Instagram, and they do take that one down. Now, I hit a test on mine, and it went away, and my shit was still up, so I don't really understand that. But my radio one vanished for several weeks, and it just came back recently. Dan's actually the one who made me aware that it was back. Hey, I can see it now, and I went back, and sure enough, it was there. Thought that was kind of strange. Mine was only very temporarily taken down. But then Natasha, on the phone with us tonight, and we'll be bringing her on here in a moment, had reached out to me, and she said, Crow, they just sent us a message on the Brutal Business page, which I have her and another longtime friend of mine as the two admins on there to take care of that page, so that luckily the page could continue to run, because all of my other pages only had me. They're all gone. My music project, Skippy Yickum, all that gone. It's still up, but no one has control of it. It's just an empty shell. Luckily, Brutal Business has two other admins. Now, she says they hit that page and they were trying to take that down. She showed me the message and everything in a picture message. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And then next thing I know, her page, her business page, she runs a brick and mortar witchcraft / metaphysical shop here in Pennsylvania, and that's her livelihood. That's what she does as a career. And all of a sudden, her Instagram for that, which has really nothing to do with the show other than maybe a post here and there to help promote it, was hit, breaking the rules of conduct, and we were removing your page. Now, luckily, it came back later in the day. They gave it back, but they were trying to take that down. I had gotten threats on Twitter. Now, here's a really strange one, and then we'll wrap up and we'll let Daniel or Natasha jump in here. I got a threat on Twitter saying, you need to watch what it is you're saying. It went into more wordier things than that, but I'm not going to get into it. And I was like, well, who the fuck is this? So I clicked on it. When I clicked on it, it was almost like Facebook when someone blocks you and you click on their page and all of a sudden it says this page isn't available at this time, and you're like, oh, the son of a bitch blocked me. Well, this person sent me a threat, and I clicked on the page because I didn't recognize it. I don't use Twitter. The funny thing is, I only got back on Twitter because Alistair Nocht, who was my recent guest on Knights of the Nephilim, that's how I have to contact him. And I had re-downloaded it just to get in contact with him, and it was still on my phone. I don't even use it. Well, someone sent me a message on there, which I thought was interesting because I know it has nothing to do with him. But how the hell would they even really know I'm on there? I didn't post, didn't do anything other than strictly message him. It just happened to still be on my phone. I got a notification. I clicked on it. They're threatening me. And when I clicked on the page, went to it, no page came up. It said unavailable at this time. So I went back and I was going to screenshot the message. When I went back to the message was gone. Shortly afterwards is when Natasha's page got hit. So as you can see now, folks, in long story short, long-winded, is that multiple pages have been removed or trying to be removed. There has been threats sent. There has been interruptions during our shows where phone calls are cutting out. Now, you could say that that is just ironic or coincidental, and it could be. Maybe we're overthinking it. But I don't really have much technical difficulties, and I had multiple technical difficulties with several different guests where phone calls were dropping, and they're sitting there telling me, this never happens to me. I'm saying the same thing on my end. Daniel and I's last episode we did together, the call-in episode, it was just a fuckery of phone call drops and technical difficulties, but that could be said to be the fact that we had people calling from all over the world and you're connecting multiple lines. But we just wanted you guys out there to know what is going on, that if for some reason these radio shows vanish or shut down, it's not from our doing. And that we will continue to give you the mind-enhancing information, the seeds of illumination that we can in any way that we can while we still can, before they try to take this platform away from us as well. We felt it was important to make an episode on this, especially now with what's going on. And, you guys can take it from here. Daniel, if you want to jump in, and then Natasha will bring you on and you can kind of tell your side of the story as well. And we'll jump into more reasons why this might be that they're trying to silence us.
Right, absolutely. So I'm going to go a little bit deep on sort of like my conspiratorial aspect, my perspective on what's happening globally. And then I would love to introduce you guys to, our friend Natasha and see what she has to say about it as well. And then I do have a closing thought I want to talk about, the spiritual side of this. So the first thing I want to start with here, guys, is we live in the United States, and in other countries, they have what's called as a social credit score system that is so unrealistically invasive that people's entire lives are controlled down to their thoughts, let alone their actions and the way that they speak. If you guys have ever seen Black Mirror, okay, it's like some countries are really like a Black Mirror episode where it's these social credit score systems are oftentimes dictated and measured by the way that people speak on the internet. And some people actually have their total social media monitored, so much so that if they even follow certain people that are identified by their governments or their leaderships as domestic terrorists or anarchists or somebody that doesn't, somebody that goes against what their political views are, those people are also classed and penalized for just being someone who's a suspect, sus, in terms of who they might support and what views they might have, that's assumed by algorithms that just monitor their internet activity. That's the websites they go to, the way they post, the people they follow, the things they like. It's all monitored, and it all culminates point values towards their social credit systems, which actually affects their actual social status with their employment, with their families, the way they're perceived in their society, and also sometimes directly affecting their money. Okay, that's where the economy is actually paired to people's social status. That's how bad it is in some countries, okay? Right now, that it's been like that for years, and even worse, to the point that people can't even think anything other than what they're being told to think, or they're literally punished, literally actually exiled, in a sense, by their own communities. So now let's get to the United States. You start to see this, I call it like a tiptoe into totalitarianism. You start to see, I would say maybe 2019 in 2019, maybe even 2018, you start to see on Facebook these fact checkers, where all of a sudden your posts are being fact checked by an independent fact checker that will, cite your statement or your article or your meme or your picture as being false, and here's why. And you can click a link and read some fucking like watered down excuse as to why they're saying that what you think is wrong. Okay, that's where it started. So you get the fact check little laurel on your posts now. But then as time goes on, when the Black Lives Matter movement started and COVID started and the Trump Biden election started, you start to really see all of this division and all of these sort of like narratives and these agendas being pushed really heavily within America about what side to choose and who you should agree with and what you should sort of like how you should react in this circumstance that we're all going through together. And so the fact check then gets taken to the next level where you're not just getting fact checked. If you say anything that goes against the official narrative, whatever's on the news, whatever's, on the main headlines of popular websites, anything that our official science, our official government, our official politics say is what's happening geopolitically. If you have any alternative view on that, people were not only getting fact checked on Facebook, but now they're getting their posts deleted. And then to take that a step further, you're also getting 30-day bans. So I have a lot of friends in my community who are getting these bans that are saying you can no longer post on Facebook. This post you made was deemed fact checked and goes against our community guidelines. Okay, now I want to talk about community guidelines for a minute and how concerning that is, because any company or corporation that owns a platform and has a lot of money, they can actually dictate what those community guidelines are, even if they're not like a law. They're just a preference. You have to abide by that community guideline to use their platform. So now you're violating all these community guidelines that a lot of people don't even know what they are. There isn't even a clear, definable database to what you can research to know what you're allowed to say, what you're not allowed to think, how you're allowed to act, the things you're allowed to post. But now we're seeing these 30-day bans going like crazy on Facebook. So once somebody gets a strike for violating community guidelines because they've said something that, goes against whatever the official narrative is in any sort of category, in our society at this point, now these accounts are getting deleted. They're not just getting the fact check laurel. They're not just getting a 30-day ban, but now their accounts are being removed. So to move forward further down this timeline, it's actually just come out recently, I would say over the past 2 months, that this whole fact-checking movement that started around 2018, it wasn't backed by science. It wasn't backed by law. The fact-checking program where just average civilians like all of us who were hired to basically disapprove anything that they were told to disapprove. So that means that like whether or not it was true or false, whether that's subjective or it was based on something, the fact checkers weren't actually coming from scientific standpoints or a legal standpoint. They were just basically anything that was part of what our official sort of narrative is, which is obviously governed by a wide variety of colorful secret societies here. Those fact checks were not actually fact checked. It was more so just a way to police whatever agendas and official narratives that these platforms that we're all on wanted to carry out and follow through with. And that's just like over the last 2 months that came out, that the fact checks weren't fact checked. They're just opinions. They are part of their own intranet of community guidelines that half of us have no idea what they really all are. So now you've got your fact check laurels, you've got your 30-day bans, and now you've got your accounts permanently deleted, because the idea of like freedom of speech is completely, I think that if you take the other countries that have these social credit score systems, this is the direction that America is moving. We're all getting to that same point where our entire internet presence is going to be policed. It's going to be monitored. And there are algorithms that are internet algorithms that are just AI. They're not even like real human beings sitting on the internet monitoring people. They're just AI algorithms that scrub the internet for keywords. and for sound bites, and they can actually, these AI algorithms can actually interpret pictures and images, so much so that they have a massive database of what they deem to be going against a community guideline, whether we as the civilians know what those rules and regulations are or not, and that accounts are getting banned, deleted, striked. Basically we are being silenced, not by being told that we have to go to jail yet, but by, totally policing our behavior on the internet, the way that we speak, so much so that you can't even have an alternative view or an alternative opinion on some sort of mass consensus scenario that is happening in the country or the world that goes against the official narrative, so much so that you're just literally being silenced on all of the platforms that we use to communicate to our friends with, to our family, to our coworkers. A lot of us use social media for business purposes. And so the only way that they can really sort of influence and instigate our behavior and our speech and even our thoughts to a degree is by, limiting what we can and we can't say. Okay. Now I have 30, 40 friends on Facebook that have either been, 60-day, 90-day banned for saying something that went against the grain, or completely deleted and had to leave the platform altogether. And so the direction that we're going here is a total silencing of free thought and free speech. And I've had it happen to me. My close friends have had it happen to them. I'm seeing it getting worse. I'm seeing the United States getting closer and closer to the social credit score system that other countries have, that literally instigate people's total behavior in their private lives, in all of their internet activity, through their employment, to the point that's like I can't even fathom the direction that our civilization is going as people, as independent sovereign beings, in this totalitarian direction that we're going. I know I'm ranting at this point, but I wanted this episode tonight. I wanted the opportunity to speak my piece, because you've got some people who I won't name that have made national headlines, who are getting fined billions of dollars for speaking out their own opinions on things, actually going to jail for having an alternative view on things. That's the direction that we're going. And it's really shocking and concerning to me. And I do have some other opinions that I want to bring up later in the episode about the spiritual aspect of this. And so not only are we getting attacks on the internet, and we're getting our ability to speak freely attacked, but there's also something called spiritual attacks, which I know that I'm personally subject to right now. And that I know for a fact Frater is too as well. And this is a whole nother topic that we really need to tackle, that I feel is part of this. It's a part of these internet attacks. It's a part of these silencing tactics. It's a part of this sort of like these community guidelines and these fact checks and these 30-day bans and these accounts being removed. So listen, man, I know I'm fucking ranting, but I'm really upset about this. I don't like to see this happen to my friends who I know are good fucking people. I don't think I'm a bad person because I don't always agree with everything that I see on the fucking news. And it's just like, what the fuck is happening here? Okay. So listen, before I get too upset, listen, I met Natasha through Frater, and I'm really grateful that we met. I'm grateful to call her a friend at this point, and I'm grateful that she is here in our corner helping us, as part of, our radio shows and getting the word out there and dealing with her own types of silencing in this way and not backing down, like Frater and I haven't backed down yet. And so Natasha, I am going to shut the fuck up. And I want to introduce the world to you, and I want to just express my gratitude for being part of our team and being in our corner. And I'm grateful to have met you as a friend. And tell the people what you got going on in your life.
Oh, well, thank you. That was a really nice introduction. I appreciate that. I am more than happy to, help out with these shows and be a part of these shows. As far as promoting, as far as helping with getting the guests on the shows and making sure that people see it, because I feel like the message is important, which is why I was more than willing to step in and do that after the internet decided Frater shouldn't exist anymore and took him away from it. The funny thing is, I thought about offering to help before, and never did because honestly, I don't have time. But when that happened, I offered immediately, and then almost as soon as I offered, and it wasn't something that I was very upfront about when I made the offer, but almost as soon as I offered, I got this like instant message from my spirits or my entities that I work with that was just like, you're gonna have some issues if you decide to do this. Now, that wasn't clear on what the issues were, and I'm already so busy, so I was like, that's fine. We're just going to write it off as that. And then we were, I think 2 episodes in to Knights of the Nephilim, and the next morning was when I got on, and I was like, my entire Instagram was shut down. Now, other people have had issues with their Instagram, so we were kind of like, well, maybe that's just coincidence, but I'm not really big on things happening by coincidence. And, I mean, since then, like, I've had issues with, like, Frater was saying the Brutal Business page was sending messages. I got a message through the Celestial Oddities Instagram that was like, you made a violation or whatever, and then it just like disappeared. Like I couldn't even find the message afterwards, which was strange. So I've never had any issues like on social media. I've never been silenced or, violations. The only violation I ever personally received was when I told my drummer I was going to kick him in the kneecaps, and I got like violated for a threat and got a ban. So as far as what's going on now, this is all very, very new and different as far as like social media goes from my experience with it. But I feel like the amount of things that are happening all together take it away from that coincidence marker and move it much more towards maybe you're not being paranoid, maybe there is some sort of target. And the truth is, like, you said we're not backing down, not stopping the shows, not doing any of that. And that honestly is my feeling too, because my husband even said to me, like, if they're trying, if this is happening and they're trying to, work so hard to shut the shows down, so hard to shut you guys up, then obviously you're saying something that is worth something that's upsetting somebody that, they don't want people thinking outside of that box. And that's exactly what the shows here do, is ask people to think outside of that box, which is dangerous when they want you in line and when they want you, your social credit score or whatever you were just talking about, which I have no idea what you're talking about with that. I just think that eventually all the little check marks start adding up, and that's what's happening right now. So,
well, it's crazy too, because they have it set so firm on certain things that, as Daniel was saying, they programmed these things to start catching things that maybe necessarily aren't bad at all. There was a post up that said, "What is that?" That's all it said. What is that? And it was a picture. It was a comment on someone else's picture on one of the Oddities groups that I follow, and it was a picture of a pig, and the person says, "What is that?" I simply commented back, "Pig." Instantly. It wasn't even a minute later. It was like, boom, your page has been flagged. Now, this was a couple years ago. Your page has been flagged for slanderous terms. You have been given a 30-day ban. And I'm like, you got to be shitting me. I'm like, I literally answered what was in the picture, the question. So I hit to test that one, and it was like 2-3 hours later, it came back, and it says, "You have won. We apologize for the mistake." I was actually surprised. But then they didn't take the check mark away. They took away you're right, you're not banned, continue to do what you're doing, sorry for the mistake. But if you went into my actual settings, there was an area on there somewhere on Facebook that you would see where it would say you have had one warning, one ban or whatever within the last X amount of time, and more of them could possibly cause you to be suspended or even get your account shut down. Well, that was a couple years ago. There hasn't been a single instance since then, and then this time, poof, gone. So I know that when something's even questionable, they usually give you that opportunity, or tell you a reason why. So when they just completely removed me, I was a little shocked. But it's just something as simple as pig. And it's like, okay, so how good is this site if I'm going to invest my life into your platform and support your platform by spending all this time on it and using it for what it's for, and then you're going to completely delete me at a whim? Why would someone invest so much time? Now you're starting to see all these different people of all different walks of life having similar things happen. So I don't want to make it seem, folks, that like we're the only ones that stuff like this is happening to, or only truth seekers. It is happening to regular people as well. But whenever you do start talking out, whether it's a person catching it or they have the algorithm set so firm, they're keeping you from speaking things that are outside the social norms of acceptability. And that's the problem. And when you start to talk about heavy content, I don't think it's just the computers catching it. You know, if they have, they've become alive because it's specific things that they catch. If I had a show about Jesus Christ and I went on about Christianity and I went on about, faith, there'd be no problem. Wouldn't be flagged at all. But if I start to talk about anything outside of it of a paganism standpoint or any type of things with Luciferian illumination and any of the things I've had on my last episodes, all of a sudden, instantly, you're like, click, nope, you can't talk about that. But simply, it's faith. I'm not telling anybody to go out and do anything bad. I'm telling people to get to know themselves better, to grow spiritually and become something higher than they are right now. Never saying anything that should be offensive to anyone, but that's what they silence because they don't like that. That breaks some type of rule. I just did the hand gesture, folks, and that you guys can't see me. I just realized that. That's funny.
He did the air quotes.
I did the air quotes, folks. But it's just, you got to start to wonder, what box do you have to stay in to be acceptable? So where are the defining lines?
Natasha and I were discussing it today in person that, you know, when somebody has discovered practices and belief structures and rituals and exercises that unlock their consciousness, expand their perspective, free their minds so that they think outside of those boxes. You see, the secret societies that run our planet, they are doing the same fucking thing. They don't want civilians like us, the surface level, to be accessing their same tools as threatening to them. They don't want us to be able to do the things that they do, to become more sovereign, to become our own, deliberate creators of our reality. Because imagine if, maybe it's just us three, who I know for a fact are very strong, sovereign individuals with our spiritual abilities. I can attest to that. Imagine multiply us times 20 million. What happens then? They absolutely have to stop that any way that they can. And if that means that they force people into shutting up by either policing their behavior and their speech on social media platforms or punishing them, like in other countries where they could actually be fined. Did you guys hear about the PayPal thing from last month? You guys hear about the fucking PayPal thing? Okay, let's talk about this. This is the direction that we're going, okay? PayPal, somebody's discovered in the fine print of an update that PayPal was supposed to roll out was that they can legally fine your PayPal account $2,500 if something you've said on your own personal social media platforms was deemed as hate speech. And it doesn't outline what their definition of hate speech is. But if you're on your Twitter, your Instagram, your Facebook, and you say something that is deemed as, whatever their definition of a hate speech is, that PayPal can just fine you. And you don't even have to have that money in your balance. They can actually bill whatever bank account, debit, or credit card you have attached and fine you. And that was in the fine print. People were screenshotting it and posting it all over the internet, that everybody needs to cancel their Venmo, cancel their PayPal, because they're actually going to be monitoring our dialogue on the internet and fining us $2,500.
Well, think about it.
When that went public, when that went viral, you saw the stocks in PayPal drop. You saw thousands and thousands of people canceling their PayPal accounts because obviously these are free thinkers who want to get fucking penalized $2,500. And this wasn't a fluke thing that somebody made up. It wasn't a fake story to create buzz. It was in their fine print. And PayPal issued a formal statement apologizing. and then reneging on that agreement, saying, okay, well, we misworded some things and we apologize for the confusion, but we're rolling that agreement back and it will not be coming out in the next update. But it was a legit thing. Okay, we're talking about $2,500 fines being debited to people's PayPal accounts that could then target their checking or their debit card or their credit card attached, and that they had the right to do that if you're using their platform. So now the question that I have, okay, well, how is PayPal as a money merchant monitoring my fucking social media? How do you know what I post on my Facebook that's private? How do you know that I post on my Instagram, which isn't public? How do you know what I post on my Twitter? They have to know, because I think in some way, shape, or form, these companies are probably connected, sub-affiliates, and if there is some sort of like invisible database that the civilians don't have access to about what is determined as a hate speech or something that, you know, makes you a domestic terrorist or dangerous in some way through the way that you speak online, that they can find me. So it was like somewhere like 200,000 people canceled their PayPal accounts in like 48 hours.
And people got hit with it?
Nobody got the fine. Nobody got the fine because I got the email. Here's the thing. I use PayPal and Venmo, and I got the same fucking email they all got. And there was like pages and pages and pages of everything outlined in the update, and with a date attached, which was like set for like, 35 days in advance. And I didn't read it. Like who fucking reads 48 pages of legal shit? I just didn't read it. But it was there. Other people did read it, and then people were writing entire blogs about it. And it went viral so fast that, like I said, PayPal issued a formal apology saying that they're not going to go through with it, but that it was in the fine print of that update, which was supposed to be, I think it was supposed to be November. So that didn't happen. They didn't go through with it, but it was there. And there was enough pushback from people saying you absolutely have no right to, A, monitor the way that I speak on my social media, but B, fine me $2,500 for something that you determine as hate speech. What is that? Where's the definitions? What are the words? What are the sentences that you could fine me $2,500 for? So the reason why I'm just telling you guys that is it's another example of the direction that we're going in terms of having our thoughts and our behavior and our language totally policed. Now, I know that I said earlier in the episode that I wanted to talk about spiritual attacks. Well, spiritual attacks are I know that Frater can really sort of like elaborate on this, but it's something that I know that I'm experiencing right now in my personal life, and I won't go down into every detail about what is happening, but I would look at my friends and family who say something on social media and then get a fucking slap on the wrist, or worse, get put in timeout, is a type of psychological abuse. I would call it, an attack. I would go as far as to call that an attack. And these things can also happen spiritually, where some people start to notice that they're going through some challenges or some problems come up, some circumstances come up in their lives that are sort of sudden, out of the blue, maybe unsolicited. And that is something that I'm dealing with, and something that I know other people are going through as well. So Frater, I wonder if you could jump in on the concept of spiritual attacks. And do you think that could be something that's happening to us as a team, us as individuals, maybe because of the type of work we do, or because of the entities we work with, or because of the practices we take, because of how powerful we are as individuals? What do you think about that?
I mean, it can take a few different shapes. I mean, you can have spiritual attacks in the sense that if you push a heavy object, you want it to move, you want to get it out of your way. Sometimes that'll work, but we have to understand that sometimes that weight will come back on us. So whether it's someone actually spiritually attacking you, or it's just that whenever you're making too much of a force from you, too much static, too much energy, and you're not focused on it, it's going to push back. So it could just be something natural that, and one of the things I was going to say earlier is that it's almost like a glitch. We're making noise. They set the perimeter. So we're thinking of it in the sense of setting computer systems to certain elements that it's looking for. But let's look at the whole world itself as a matrix. What if that's not programmable in your Facebook and in your social medias? What if that's programmable in reality? And they're programming things that if these roles are hit, it has certain specific pushback.
That's right.
So when we naturally, as people, are pushing out and we're making, hey, wake up out there, people, it's disrupting the program.
That's
Something's going on.
Yeah, the program's not ready for it.
So push back. So let's shut down
You're
sites.
like a virus.
Let's flag stuff. It's like a virus. A virus, it automatically enacts and it starts to affect it. So the only thing you can do is to fight back the virus, to try to stave it off and get rid of it so you can continue to grow more, but it pushes more. So it's a constant battle if you're making noise. Now you can have spiritual attacks as well from individual people, sources, whether it be an individual practitioner or it be some type of group. They can launch a spiritual attack on you if they know their means of what they're doing, which can cause effects in your life. It can manifest, so you have to have those shields up to protect yourself. And then obviously if you notice that's happening, you can send that back. It sounds very Dungeons and Dragons, folks, but it's actually a real thing. I mean,
It can be very effective.
Yeah, you can curse someone's life, and you can also heal people. You can do those things if you know what you're doing and you're experienced in your craft, but you have to spend a lot of time learning that to do it. And it's something you have to continue to do. It doesn't, you don't just get there and you're there. You have to stay at that. So, we have a lot of abilities that people don't like to share with other people, as far as like you have access to this if you just do X, Y, Z. So like I said, whenever you're teaching people, hey, you can do that, it's inside of you. It's inside of all of us. It's no less crazy to believe that you have abilities and things you can do than it is to believe in this world around you. Look at the shit that we see on an everyday basis. Look at animals, look at cars, look at planes, look at everything around us. It's a miracle. How the hell did this all happen? So who wouldn't believe that we couldn't create anything else, that this is all just a simulation of people working together, creating what it is that we look at it so physical sometimes. This is a video game, and we are just very wrapped up in our own characters in it.
And I think sometimes people take it so Dungeons and Dragons. They take it so, really it's so out there. But we were talking earlier about the science behind it all. And I know the course that we've been working through at the shop is very much based in intuitive work and following those intuitive pulls and how to work with your intuition and your higher self and all of that stuff. But on the base level of that, it's science and it's psychology. And I think that the people that figure out how to tap into that and work with that then start messing with the matrix around them. And, if even just talking about the three of us, or talking about other people in the occult telling people to speak out, to be open, that kind of stuff, when they push back against the matrix, same thing as you're saying, you get the pushback from it, and it breaks the system. It doesn't work right. So they don't want X number of people being able to have that effect, because then everything crashes.
Well, it does. And the problem with it all, and let's get down to it, it's once again encrypted into the system. The 7 deadly sins isn't just something that's cool to talk about. It's been in religion and this. And no, it is a real thing. There were specific traits that were programmed into it that we all adopt in some fragment or another. We hold more of one than the other, and so forth, of the 7. And that really makes up what it is that's around us. Greed is one of the things that's the main reason of all the problems that you have if you're speaking out in silence, because if everyone was powerful and everyone could manifest the reality and it was evenly balanced, that's a key element, if they're evenly balanced. Because right away, if you said if everybody can manifest what they want, the world would be a great place. But you have a lot of people say, oh no, it'd be pandemonium. Well, if everyone was balanced and could control their earthly desires and could control, the egoic self and actually be their higher self and also manifest, then we'd be very much at peace. But if we're at peace, we're all equal. And if we're all equal, no one stands on the top of the mountain with all the money and all the cool shit.
Exactly.
So you can't have that. So you got to hold the other people down, silence power, silence things that are available to you. People talk about the Hollywood elite and things like that. Oh, they do rituals to be as powerful as they are. And then the other people, oh, this conspiracy stuff. Let's be real about it for a second. They probably fucking do. And if they do, that just means they know something you don't. So you should try to learn it too.
They absolutely do.
They don't want us doing the shit they do.
That's the thing, though. It's always so like A and B, black and white. Like they're doing rituals. No, they're not. Once again, folks, I'm doing the hand gestures. But what if it is? And then why is that going to be such a bad thing? I mean, yeah, there could be some evil stuff going on. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is we all have access to magic and rituals and performing and making manifestation happen. So we want to like talk about what these other people are doing. Who gives a shit? Do yours. Worry where you're at. Why do we always focus so much on everyone but ourselves? Because that's built in. It's one of those things that pulls you and keeps you from the growth. The growth is the thing in the program. You are the virus, and if you are wanting to change the program, you have to move throughout the program.
Exactly.
Getting real matrical tonight, folks.
I know. I want to go watch Keanu now. That's what I'm going to do.
You know, I think that one of the most important things that we can all do is expand our consciousness. Learn the mechanics of reality. Learn how it works, what's behind the curtain. And I think that every time somebody finds some sort of philosophy, belief structure, exercise, activity, ritual, entities they work with, anything that breaks the matrix, then that person, you know, that they become a threat to the system. Because the system is actually, and this might be, you know, some people don't like to hear this when I tell them, but I do believe this, that our reality, as limiting as it might be and as difficult and challenging as it might be, as a matrix, as a system, it's actually by design to be this way. Because if you look at the concept that like maybe we're all incarnating here as like a school to learn and to grow and to expand, that means that planets like Earth, the third dimension, they need to exist for the sake of the experience of it, of the polarity, of the contrast, of going through all the different challenges that you can have as a human 3D. Maybe souls sign up for that. So that must be that means that there's a place that places like this have to exist for the fractals of consciousness of source that want to come and experience that. So what I am saying is, in one sense, I do validate our reality for being as limiting and disempowering as it seems like, because places like this need to exist. But at the same time, there are always going to be those neos. There are always going to be those red pills. There are always going to be those free thinkers that are expanding outside of the framework where their consciousness gets too big to fit within the program, the hologram, the matrix, the system. And they either desync so much, they like de-resonate with the frequency of the matrix. And that's like people like fucking me who are just assholes all the time because it's like they can't, you know what I mean? Like I sometimes look around and I feel like I can't, it doesn't work anymore. It's like trying to fit like, you know, a square into a circle. And that's when I think that like people like us, you know, we do actually stand out like a red flag, and we might be subject to spiritual attacks. We might get fact checked. We might get 30-day bans. And I understand that like the nature of reality needs this reality. Say, for example, what if it's perfect? What if, for as miserable and unhappy as people might be here for whatever respective circumstances they're going for, what if that's what they signed up for? What if they're all here and it's all perfect and nothing's wrong? This is just the way that it is. And someday when we die, we go somewhere that's different, that is less polarized, but there's less contrast. It's not as difficult. There isn't maybe a monetary system. Maybe we don't die of cancer. Maybe life is a little bit easier in other planets and other realities. But this one is the way that it's supposed to be. I can't say I love that idea because I can think of a lot of ways I'd like to sort of like improve on the general status of our planet. But with that being said, you know, I think that we're walking a fine line of it, like maybe this reality is the way that it's supposed to be, but there is a type of person, a population of people that have almost in a sense grown and evolved out of the need for it. And then where do they go? What happens to them? What happens to us? What do we do?
Well, you know, it goes to the thought that man envied the gods, but gods were jealous of man. Because you come here and you get to live out this flesh existence. And we are so, once again, pulled by so many different spiritual currents and programming that we constantly are focused on the outer. A lot of people focus on, is there a heaven? Is there a hell? Where do I go after this? They're so focused on what's next, what's going to happen, and how do I get there? And we don't focus on what's important as that we're here. And if you, instead of trying to be a master of this world so that when you leave for what's next, what if the goal, as you said, is to be here and it's to become as high as you can in this life so that when you come to the next one, you pick back up where you left off after you remember, and you just build time and time again, life after life. And as you grow, you can become a master of this universe. And maybe that's the point, but we're not thinking of that. We're thinking it's how to escape it, or how do I get to heaven, or how do I get to... What if this is the heaven? The heaven is just how far along and advanced are you going to allow yourself to be, or how deprived and vile are you going to allow yourself to be? Where are you going to end up on the spectrum of reality if we gave you the chance to play it? And look where everybody's at. Look where everybody's puzzle pieces are.
Right, it's just game chips. I think you guys both are correct, because I do think that, this is kind of a garbage place that we come and learn the lessons that we have to learn. Like that is how you evolve. So if there wasn't a place like that for people to come to then remember and then grow from, then how would that growth happen? How would those lessons happen? Like, it has to exist as it is for that growth.
That's right.
Well, and it's also why there is a spiritual world, because the spiritual world has created this manifest world and they're operating within it, but there's still the essences of the spirit world behind the curtain. So we're playing this play. If we can learn how to peek behind the curtain properly, you see that there's a whole crew back there working to make this work. And you can learn how to tap into them, and that to your benefit. You can play this role a lot better if you have allies around you. You know what I mean? And that's it. You can grow from that. And that's the point. But like I said, we are so focused, and that's why you were mentioning earlier, Dan, the how they're monitoring everything. If you really take a step back from it for a moment, this is genius. What is the smartest thing that could have ever been done to us? If you go back, let's just all think for a minute out there. Close your eyes and go back to 1960, 1950. Sometime before cell phones and before a lot of the modern technology, kind of still recent, but not. And you told people, hey, listen, we're going to give you this device that you're going to carry on you that's going to track all of your movements of what you do. You can put all your thoughts and your emotions into it. You can post what you're doing throughout the day. You can take pictures of everything, video of everything, audio notes of everything. You can look up all kinds of stuff on this thing called the internet that you don't know about yet, but we can track everything that you're doing. And you can have all these apps that each individually are really cool. And they all do this individual really cool stuff. But they all individually have use of your phone and everything that you do, and track this much and this much and that much. And as Dan said, a collective together knows everything about you. If you told people that, they'd be like, absolutely not. I'm not putting that in my pocket. No, it would be so alien to them. Right. So you introduce it slowly, step by step. There's a thing called cell phones. And a handful of years later, we've shrunken them down a little bit. They become even more convenient to carry. And hey, now you can actually, you had beepers first, but let's skip that. You can text someone. It takes 15 buttons to say hi, but you can text them. But it was cool because it was this new thing. And we're all like, oh, we got to all do that. And your friends would tell you, I got this cell phone and I'm texting, and then you want to text. So it spreads like a rash. And then the next thing, we're like, well, now you can do this. And now you can do that. And now there's these things called apps. They're brand new. There's only like 3 of them, but there's apps out there. And then you just go and you go and you go and you go, and then you fast forward to 2022. Everything you can imagine is in your pocket and your phone. From games to music to recording devices to art devices to everything, GPS, internet, it's all there. So then you do start controlling that. And you do have social media sites, and it does ask you permissions for this or that along with the apps. And now anything anyone would ever need to know, they already know, because it's already all in that device. Because every second of your day, us talking right now, is in that device. We just don't know it. We think because we turn things off on an app, we switched the on button to the off button. Well, we're safe now. Are we? Or is that just an illusion? You flip it to off, it's still on. How the hell would you know? Hackers have showed that they can hack into your TV, and they can watch you and your family sitting there on the couch, and you have no idea if it's a smart TV. They turn the light off through what the buttons that they're using. How do you know when you hit the off button on the settings?
That's right.
It's not still on. You were recorded and visualized and pictured all day long. Every single thing that you do, you're only safe because they let you. They scare you and make you feel safe at the same time. They could have everything, but you know what? They gave us these safeguards, these imaginary safeguards. But you're safe.
Now that I'm not going to be able to watch TV when I fall asleep tonight, I appreciate you. Thank you.
So, folks, we're just completely jumping into just thoughts and feelings tonight of what's been going on. So, I mean, a lot of you out there probably like, man, these guys are going off tonight. What the fuck are they talking about? But it is kind of the world that we're in, whether good or bad, whatever it is what it is. I'm just saying it is very interesting to see where we've come as a society and as a culture, and how far technology has come and what you are allowed to talk about and what you're not. Religion being one of them. Obviously, me being in the occult world as heavy as I am, it's just always interesting. Freedom of speech and all of these things, but it's only freedom of speech when you are saying what they allow.
That's right.
Exactly.
And if you were saying something beyond that, and the thing is, if you're just being completely crazy and saying just some fucking berserk shit, okay, understandable. But when you're teaching a culture or a religion, something that is actually built, it's not just like my own thoughts, but there's people behind it, and there is basis to it. But we don't want anybody to know that and silence it. It's just, you start to wonder, like, wow, my freedom isn't as free as they told me my freedom was.
You know, when you talked about the evolution of the cell phone, how gradual it is, and as we get, enamored by the new shiny thing, as technology advances, we all want the new, hottest, latest thing. You are also sacrificing all of these privacies and these permissions with the use of them, whether it's a social media platform or your cell phone. And it gets back to that statement that I said, the totalitarian tiptoe. These changes happen so slow, incrementally, that you don't notice how big they really are when they even disperse them over the course of years. But now, like I said, we'll just do some light research about the way that the society is in some of these other countries where they literally cannot speak. They can't even go to certain websites. Okay, if you go to a website on your phone or your personal computer at the house, that's monitored. And if the contents of that website are deemed, unfavorable to their society, you're punished. That's the direction that America's going. And I mean, I've seen people on YouTube dissecting the batteries of their Samsung phones and pulling like microphones out of them. And now it's like people's cell phones are designed so that you cannot repair them yourselves. You can't even break it open and put a new battery in it if your battery goes dead.
It's all in one vessel, yeah.
You know what I mean? This is the direction that we're going, but it's slow and gradual enough that we don't notice. And if we know that, okay, well, I need this app, I need this website, this social media platform for my business, then you just agree to whatever their community guidelines are, whatever their rules are, because this is where everybody is, and you have to stay on the cutting edge, And so people just go along with it for the most part.
Well, you either go along with it because you want to be on the app and you want to use it, and you're just like, screw it, I'm going to do it, or you don't understand what the hell it's actually saying. Mm-hmm. You look at like what it's given permission to, and it says things that you're like, okay, I don't even know what the hell that is. Sure, whatever.
Right.
And you're just saying, sure, yeah, okay.
Or like me, I didn't read the PayPal thing. I didn't read the PayPal fine print, but maybe I should have. Well,
you should always read the fine print, man. That's how they fucked so many artists over the years, as far as like recording artists and things. Just sign it. It looks good. It's a good contract. Chappelle talks about that on his special. They told me it was a good contract. Just sign it, Dave. It's a good contract. And then they took them for everything. So, Natasha, you have kind of felt some pushback, yourself, just being someone who pushes spiritual beliefs in a brick and mortar shop in a small town, that wasn't accepted either. That was something that you luckily haven't had too much pushback, but you have had pushback.
So here's the thing with that. I have definitely had pushback, but none of the pushback has been at my brick and mortar door. That pushback has all just been trash talking online, or, you know, little, I don't even know what groups they are, Facebook groups that aren't happy that there's a witchcraft community in Butler. They're springing up everywhere, apparently. But for me, like, over the past, we've been open almost a year, right? We'll be open a year in December. And I cannot get over the amount of people that keep showing up, like, not just the same people, because we do have, like, that core group, but, like, the amount of new people. So, like, for all the pushback that I'm getting, and like I said, I do get it, you know, the shit talking and the it's either somebody's going to make fun of it, or like I am now the devil in Butler, and people around here do not like that. But the good outweighs the bad, and honestly, like, it's the same thing with, like, these shows. Like, as far as I'm concerned, the speaking about it, the giving people that information, giving people those little, like, nudges to, like, look farther, because that's really what's happening at the shop at this point, is people are coming in not because they are grabbing a candle or an herb bundle, or they want a working done, although those things are happening too. But more and more, it's that they're coming in because they want the knowledge and they want to learn, and they're being pulled, and they're, you know, feeling this new, like, entire direction with their life. So I really, like, cannot say enough how much I don't give a shit about the pushback, locally or on the internet.
You can't. I mean, if you let it control you, the more, you know, buds you give, the more they're going to take. Like, okay,
exactly.
You know, they want me to do
and
this.
Like, I know what I'm doing. So, and it's not negative. It doesn't have a negative effect. It's not intended to be negative to the people that are involved in it. And the only thing that I've seen come out of it so far is massive amounts of growth from beautiful human beings that I see on a regular basis.
Well, and that's the thing, is a lot of people don't realize that, like, they hear a cult, like, I'm talking for you and I as far as our involvement in the cult, and, you know, it looks like people look at it and they hear that it's taboo, and they're like, all these people, they're into arcane knowledge. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, but at the same time, like, most of us are really good people, because what it teaches you is you grow and you become the best version of yourself. And as I said earlier, you become balanced if you do it right. No, the problem is people get upset, or they actually know anything about it. They'll get upset because they're like, well, we shouldn't be messing with that because it causes people to go insane or do bad things. So do guns. Someone who buys a gun can go out and do target practice with it. They can go out and go hunting. They can do all sorts of things, or they can use it against people and it'd be a terrible thing. Magic or spirituality, in most cases, will produce great results, and a better version of that person just depends to what degree. Maybe they only go up 1 click, or maybe they go up 100. Maybe they end up using it for terrible, horrible things. But there's horrible things around us, folks. And maybe the more of us that are good, the less of us that'll be bad. That's what we don't realize. Let's stop everyone from doing it. It's going to happen regardless. But by filtering it, you have people then say, well, why is it being filtered? And you have bad people get into it. But if you had more people learning their power, then you would have more people with power, and it would bleed itself out correctly. Yeah, there's going to always be bad seeds, but the more good there is, that can stop the bad. And that's what they don't understand. You know, Satanists or demonolators or whatever you might be, diabolists in our field, they hear that and they're like, these evil people. But it's very rare I've ever used anything that I've known or my knowledge for any type of evil purposes or bad purposes.
Exactly.
And if I have, then it was deserved, and I'm okay with that. I take responsibility of that. But
also, exactly.
You know what I mean? It just teaches you to take responsibility of your life, but to also take the reins of your life and live it. So it's just sad. You know what I mean? That there is those people on top that, as long as we can keep the sheep dumb, we can keep pushing them into the pen. You know what I mean? But
right.
We don't have to be in the pen, folks. You can learn to have the staff. You can just be your own shepherd. That's what Jesus was teaching us. Let's go back to the words of Jesus, folks. He was teaching you to be a shepherd. Look inside yourself. He never wanted you to need him. He wanted you to need yourself. Frater Crow,
I'm the
7-13.
I'm all the sheep, and I'm the land that they walk on. I'm the air they breathe and the water they drink.
You know what he also said, though, folks? He did say at the beginning, which, Jesus, but God. He did say, I created life and I created death. I created good and I created evil. I done all these things. I am your God. Let us not forget that line. People all the time want to talk about God being a great person. He had an evil side too, supposedly, if you go off of Catholicism and Christianity. I did all these things. I am your God. Mm-hmm. So people want to separate the devil because it's easy. Let's pick the devil. He's the bad guy. But what happens when the God's own word, supposedly, where I do good and I do evil, I bring life and I bring death, I do all of these because I am your God.
I like how you keep whispering it.
Yeah, you got to do it all creepy like, folks. It gives the effect.
Some ASMR.
So I want to put the gloves on and be like, there's a chick I know. I had her on the show on Uncovering the Under, or no, I had her on Nights of the Nephilim. Necro Nikki. She does ASMR videos and she crushes it. And it literally makes your hair stand up on the back of your head. Your whole body tingles when you listen to this chick do these videos. And you're like, wow, what a weird thing. She's like wearing leather gloves and she pulls them off and then she taps her keys on the keyboard. She'll like use feathers and rub them on the wall and the weirdest shit. And you watch these videos, and I mean, there's a lot of people watch these videos, and you feel like you could just fall asleep while listening to it.
And it's like it by accident. You're like, she's like, why do I like this?
Yeah, I mean, she always does different things and weird things. Like, she had like a plastic mat the one time, and she was just tapping it. And I was into her tapping this mat. I'm like, damn, that sounds good. I could just like have the most comfortable sleep of my life right now listening to her tap this with her long nails tapping this plastic mat. I'm like, I don't know how you figure out that that's what the populace wants to hear, but you figured it out. There's all kinds of people into it. So, Necro Nikki, shout out to you. Keep doing your thing.
I want to listen to it now.
You should look her up. She's in the occult community.
I'm going to.
Yeah, she does a bunch of witchcraft stuff, but she does the ASMR videos.
I just got a message from someone, and they said that your creepy whisper voice is extra creepy because you sound like Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, there you go. I don't know how that works, but we'll go with it. But no, that's it. I mean, everybody, God said himself, he had a little bit of bad. And I mean, even Jesus was said to work with demons, right? There's passages talking about him working with Beelzebub, and the passages of talking about him doing all kinds of other things like flipping the table and assaulting the politicians in the courtyard when he wasn't happy. I mean, hey, we all have that. But the problem is too many of us focus on that darker side when you have to go through darkness to find light. And when you find that light, it's not too often you have to go to the darkness anymore. You're living in an area where you can see everything, so therefore you act more efficiently. But we're all stuck down here in this dark cloud, and we focus on it. People talk, oh, you don't do that, that's darkness. Well, what if you have to walk through darkness to find the light? Would you walk into the tunnel, or would you be the pussy on the other end that's afraid to? There's a lot of pussies back there that all stand there and they're like, can't do that, that's hard. No, I'm going to walk through that tunnel, or I'm going to die trying and figure out what's on the other side. That's what we're here for. That's why there's a spiritual world. That's why there's aliens. That's why there's all these things. There's all these things that are here for us to reach further and find ourselves, find what's out there. But we all want to stay in this bubble because we feel like that's where we're supposed to be. And then we complain that we're in a bubble. All right?
Right.
Confusing
so we just
creatures.
start popping bubbles.
So pop your damn bubble, folks. Other than that, I don't know what else we have to say tonight, guys. We just wanted to come on and, tell you a little bit about what's going on, some of our thoughts on it. Is this all just in our heads? Are we crazy and it's just a random act of ironic things happening back to back to back to back? Is it the system pushing against us as, tension? When you push a wire, it's going to snap back? Or is it powers that be trying to stifle people from finding their power? We may never know, but one thing is assured, that we will all continue to push and do what we can, when we can, how we can, to bring you the content that we do. And we want to thank you so much for listening out there. Make sure you click the like, share, and follow button. And other than that, any last thoughts, guys?
I feel good. I'm grateful to have spoken my piece while I'm still allowed.
Me as well.
That's all.
Natasha, any last thoughts?
I feel the same way. Glad to be able to say something while I can. Hopefully I don't wake up tomorrow morning to no internet Facebook pages or Instagrams or anything. And if I do, and you guys don't see the show for a while, it's still going on. It's still happening. And I'll get back up there somehow. So
yeah, wouldn't that be a bitch? You wake up in the morning, you click on, it's like all of your pages have been disabled because you broke content.
Listen, if that happens, like, at least we know that there was some truth to it. So.
Well, and my thing, folks, is one last thing I didn't get to mention is I pretty much am not on social media anymore and really won't be. So my Facebook is gone. I won't be using my Instagram. I won't be using my Reddit because I did start one of those, but man, is there a lot of dumb people on there, and I can't handle that. So I was on there for a little bit, and I had to jump ship. So there really is no other medias that I'm going to be on at this point. So the only way to reach me is through celestialoddities@gmail.com, and again, that's celestialoddities@gmail.com. I will do my best to answer you when I can. If you want to tell us things you want to see us do on the show, do differently, anybody you want to see us have on the show, please feel free to message us. Other than that, I will post on YouTube from time to time, and really that's about it. You can follow the Celestial Oddities Instagram page and the Celestial Oddities Radio Facebook page. Natasha does run those. She'll continue to post up our upcoming events, marketing, promotion, all of that fun stuff. And you can find Dan on his social medias as well, as long as he's still on them. So these guys will be on there. I will be in the shadows where I belong, but I will be with you all in spirit. Other than that, lastly, the things I wanted to mention is we have a show next week on the 17th November. That is for Knights of the Nephilim Radio. We will be bringing on Baron and Baronessa Aragni from South Africa, two of my favorite people to bring on the show, mentors of mine and two people I highly respect. We will be talking about black magic. We will be talking about the deep psychology of the mind and touching with your higher self, and be talking about originality in today's world and doing what is right by creating your own content and not being a culture vulture. So we will be jumping into these type of contents next week on the 17th. And then the following week is Thanksgiving, and we will be doing our show here for PONG on the 23rd. So that'll be a Wednesday again. And we'll catch you then. Other than that, thank you guys so much. If for some reason we are shut down, let's look here real quick. We have 80, 112, 154, 155 episodes under our belt between our shows, somewhere in that ball field real quick. And I just want to thank you for each and every one of them. It has been fantastic to be on here and talk with you guys and provide you content. And I will continue to do so. Daniel and Natasha will continue to do so as long as we can. Thank you so much. Other than that, guys, it was a pleasure.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely.
And we will catch you on the 23rd. This is Frater Crow, Daniel and Natasha signing out. Have a great night.
Night.